what was better, the free drinks or the free alpha? When I made my way to NFT NYC, I had no idea what I was getting into. By the end of the day, not only did I take down my first Legions and Legends boss, but I met the entire holy trinity of Azra's bosses, Mark Otero, Ken Walton, and Travis Bedreau. Each had very interesting things to say. So for those of you who weren't lucky enough to be a train ride away, here's a few things that I learned that I thought you might want to know about. Needless to say, I was already hopeful Mark was going to make a fun game, but now I'm confident. The first person who greeted us on arrival was none other than Ken Walton himself. He was really excited about the novel opportunity to have the community so involved in the project before launch, and he was sure that Azra is going to continue to pioneer this building and public ethos that is unique to Web3. And here's where I just gotta say, because I can't lie to you guys, I can't. I was a bit starstruck at times and forgot to ask all the questions I prepared. I'm sorry. But I did figure some of us degens might want an insider's perspective on what the layer 2 landscape looks like for gaming. So I asked both Ken and Travis, and there were some surprising answers. So Ken talked about seeing Polygon, IMX, and Solana as the most popular for gaming right now. There's one chain in there not mentioned that I found a bit surprising. Let me know if you have thoughts on it. Overall though, Ken's view reflected that of Travis and Azra generally. Travis doesn't feel like there's a ton of pressure to decide right now, and the risk in doing so outweighs the reward. So of course they're analyzing and evaluating, but they're happy to spend time considering their options as they prioritize building the best game possible. And this isn't just talk. There was quite a revealing piece of information that kind of backs this up, but more on that in a second. Let's talk about the game. And let me tell you, vibrant, bold, dynamic. And that was just the IPAs. The gameplay, while admittedly a limited taste, was as smooth as it was pretty. I seemed to have been trapped in a room with someone who missed his morning coffee. So first steps first, call in backup. Unsurprisingly, Legions and Legends will treat you to some familiar RPG elements such as elemental mechanics that damage over time and various abilities that you'll need to manage on a cooldown. I dodged, I pumped some lead with Shoot GPT over here, and I slapped Ozrak in the shin a few too many times with my glowing C-stick. So with the game likely to attract a combination of casual and hardcore players, I wanted to know how Azra plans to handle transactions and monetization once LNL is ready for prime time. So a key thing to know here is that 80 to 90% of revenue for free-to-play games comes from our water-dwelling mammalian friends. With them in mind, Travis told me that Azra plans to provide ways for whales to manage their assets that bypasses the need to hand over 30% to the distribution platform. This is huge news, especially for me because I'm like totally a whale and not at all super poor. But for the more casual types who together account for high transaction volume but lower revenue, the traditional in-app purchase rails will be made available with minimal friction. So I think this is an encouraging approach. Now, what's even more encouraging, which I alluded to earlier, is just how confident Azra seems to be in their position and vision. I learned from a trusted source that Azra was offered a $50 million grant by a certain chain to build on their ecosystem, and they turned it down. That's gangster. And it also makes me further suspect Azra could have additional funding they've yet to reveal, or at the very least, the assurance this won't really be an issue. Talking to Mark myself only added to this feeling. This man was barely able to contain his enthusiasm. And yes, I know what you're thinking. I'm sure part of it was that he was getting a one-on-one with a YouTuber with just over 250 subscribers. But honestly, I think he was mostly excited about Azra. When I brought up that they were one of the few studios to make a big raise this past year, totaling 25 million, his response could be summed up as, "You ain't seen nothing yet." And CEOs at early stage companies spend a lot of their time stressing about where their next funding round will come from. So for Mark to not seem to have a single concern about this during the most extreme liquidity crunch in 15 years, it really just warms the heart. And it might even be a little deja vu, given Mark and Ken co-founded their first studio, Click Nation, right after the great financial crisis of '08, better known as the year the Philadelphia Phillies won the World Series. Unlike them though, Azra is no underdog, seeming to be more and more of a heavyweight in the space every day. Ken himself noted, in all his years working at Click Nation and in the industry generally, he's never been a part of a team that is this elite on a pound-for-pound basis. And that's before we even mention the 12th man they now have on the field with artificial intelligence, which Travis estimated reduces the time it takes to go from zero to a workable in-game concept by 50%. Music to my ears as someone who cannot wait to get back in there. And I know many of you can't either. Late 2023 is the last we've heard, so we're getting there. Until then, well, I have this t-shirt. Stay hopeful, guys. Sign out.